Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating court document. It kind of pulls back the curtain on a part of the legal system most of us never get to see. It's a story about a car, a bank, a criminal case, and a legal battle to stop a perfectly good asset from just, well, rotting away in a police parking lot.
So, think about this for a second. What if your car, or really any valuable property you own, gets tangled up in some police investigation? You can't get it back, and while the wheels of justice are turning, and we all know how slowly they can turn, your property is just sitting there, losing value every single day. What can you even do? That is the exact question at the heart of the case we're going to unpack today.
And the document we're digging into here, it's a real criminal court filing from 2023. This isn't some made-up story. It involves United Bank Limited, a real bank. We're going to break down exactly what happened, why it happened, and what it tells us about how the law tries to find a common-sense solution.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at how this car got stuck in legal limbo. Then, we'll meet the key players and see what was on the line. We'll follow the bank's super frustrating journey through the courts, which leads to their final plea. And of course, we'll see the Chief Justice's final ruling. To wrap it all up, we'll talk about why this one little case actually matters a whole lot.
All right, let's dive right in. The whole story revolves around a single object, caught in this complicated web between a bank, its customer, and the police. So, the star of our show is a Toyota XLI. Simple enough, right? A bank financed it for a customer. But the car didn't stay with the customer for long. It got seized by the police as part of an investigation, and that is where all the trouble begins.
Now, to really get this case, there's one key legal term you've got to know: Superdari. It sounds complicated, but the idea is pretty simple. It's a legal way for someone to get temporary custody of property that's evidence in a court case. The goal is to give the property to a responsible person who'll take care of it and, crucially, bring it back to court whenever it's needed. This is the exact tool the bank was trying to use.
So who exactly was involved in this legal tug-of-war, and what was really on the line for them?
On one side, you've got the petitioner, United Bank Limited. Because of a hire purchase agreement, they were technically the legal owners of the car until the loan was all paid off. And on the other side, their customer, Shabir Ahmad. Now this guy was in double trouble. Not only did he stop paying his car loan, but he also ended up as an accused in a totally separate criminal case. And that's how the car got dragged into this whole mess.
And we're not talking about a small amount of money here. The document shows there was still almost 660,000 rupees left on the loan. For the bank, that car wasn't just a car. It was their security for a pretty big loan that went south. They needed it back to cut their losses. Before this case ever got to the Chief Justice, the bank had already tried and failed to get the car back. Their journey was, a perfect storm of legal frustration.
So you're probably wondering, why was the car seized in the first place? Well, the court documents connect it to a police case back in 2020. The case was about stolen tower batteries, and the bank's customer, the guy with the car loan, he was named as one of the accused. Because of that, the car became a piece of evidence and got impounded. And this is where the legal nightmare really begins for the bank. In July 2021, they apply for Superdari and, nope, a judicial magistrate dismisses it. 5 months later, they appeal to a higher judge, an additional sessions judge, and denied again. Now, the documents don't say exactly why, but you can imagine that the lower courts were probably thinking, hey, this is evidence in a criminal case, let's not touch it. Whatever the reason, the bank hit 2 brick walls before deciding to take it all the way to the top.
Okay, so after being rejected twice, the bank knew they had to make a really solid case in their final petition. And when they finally got to the Chief Justice, their argument was built on pure, simple logic.
Their argument was actually pretty straightforward. They basically said, look, 1, we are the legal owners. 2, our customer clearly defaulted on the loan. 3, and this is a big one for Superdari cases, we promise on our life we will bring the car to court anytime you need it. And 4, nobody else has even bothered to claim this car, not even the guy who's accused.
But this quote, this is really the heart of their argument. They made the point that just leaving the car to sit in an impound lot forever was basically a death sentence for the vehicle. It would just rust, fall apart, and become totally worthless to literally everyone involved, the bank, the court, anyone. It's just a powerful common-sense argument against pointless waste. So, after a legal battle that stretched over 2 years, after 2 rejections from lower courts, and 1 final logical plea, the decision finally came down from the top. And here it is, the final page of the order, signed by Chief Justice Elenia Neelam herself. This one piece of paper marks the end of a really long and I'm sure very frustrating fight for the bank.
And the verdict? A clear win. The Chief Justice accepted the petition, which overturned the decisions of both lower courts. She ordered the vehicle to be handed over to the bank on Superdari. She essentially agreed that letting it rot in a police lot just didn't make any sense.
But, and this is a really big but, this victory came with some serious strings attached. First, the bank had to provide a surety bond for 2.5 million rupees. That's a huge financial guarantee. Second, they had to formally promise to bring the car back to court whenever they were told to. And third, they were absolutely forbidden from selling the car or changing its ownership until that original criminal case was completely over.
So, a bank got its car back. Why should any of us care? Well, because this case is like a perfect little snapshot of a much bigger and really important legal idea at work.
What this ruling really does is it reinforces a key principle. The process of getting justice shouldn't, in itself, be an act of senseless destruction. Allowing a valuable car to just decay in an impound lot while a case drags on for years, it doesn't help anyone. It's a lose-lose situation, and that's exactly what the idea of Superdari is designed to prevent.
So what are the big takeaways from all this? First, Superdari isn't just some dusty legal word. It's a practical tool to protect value. Second, this case shows the law trying to strike a really tough balance, right? The police need their evidence, but an owner has rights to their property. And finally, protecting that property from falling apart actually helps everyone, because at the end of the day, someone is going to have a rightful claim to it, and it's way better for them if it's still worth something.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. This particular case found an answer, but the underlying question, it never goes away. When the gears of a criminal investigation start grinding against someone's property rights, how do we find that perfect balance? It's a challenge our legal system has to deal with every single day. Thanks so much for tuning in.